The fragile peace in the Kashmir region was shattered by a devastating attack on a group of tourists near Pahalgam in Indian-administered Kashmir. 26 people, including 25 Indian nationals and 1 Nepali, were killed in the gunfire with over 20 others seriously injured. The attack, claimed by the Resistance Front, which is a group believed to be affiliated with the Pakistan-based militant organization Lashkar-e-Taiba, immediately rekindled deep-seated tensions between India and Pakistan. The brutal nature of the assault, targeting civilians in a well-known tourist location, evoked memories of the 2008 Mumbai attacks and provoked outrage across India. This incident not only revived bitter historical grievances, but also raised an urgent question for the region and the world. Are India and Pakistan on the brink of another war? India's response was swift and pointed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi convened an emergency security meeting and labeled the attack as an act of cross-border terrorism. Within hours, Indian authorities had expelled senior Pakistani diplomats, suspended visa services for Pakistani nationals, and called for an all-party meeting to discuss the next steps. In a dramatic move, India also announced its intention to revisit the Indus Waters Treaty, an agreement that has governed water sharing between the two countries since 1960. For India, these actions signaled more than just outrage. They were part of a calculated diplomatic and symbolic campaign to isolate Pakistan and signal a readiness to escalate the confrontation if needed. Meanwhile, Pakistani authorities categorically denied any involvement in the attack. Defense Minister Khawaja Muhammad Asif called for an international investigation and accused India of exploiting the tragedy to divert attention from domestic issues and suppress dissent in Kashmir. The Pakistani government responded by closing its airspace to Indian aircraft, revoking existing visas for Indian nationals, and suspending trade routes including third-country trade. In addition, Pakistan announced it would withdraw from the 1972 Shimla Agreement, a key diplomatic framework that had long been central to bilateral negotiations. These measures suggested that Pakistan was not merely reacting diplomatically, but was preparing for a long-term geopolitical standoff. In the days following the attack, tensions escalated militarily as well. Along the line of control, Indian and Pakistani forces traded small arms fire, breaking a 2021 ceasefire that had held relatively firm. While both militaries downplayed the severity of the skirmishes, the fact remains that any escalation along the line of control can quickly spiral out of control. Past experience, particularly from the 1999 Kargil conflict and the 2019 Balakot airstrikes, demonstrates how rapidly a localized incident can evolve into broader military confrontation. Moreover, the presence of nuclear weapons on both sides makes even small miscalculations potentially catastrophic. Domestically, both governments are facing internal pressures that could drive them toward more aggressive posturing. In India, Prime Minister Modi is grappling with a recent string of electoral setbacks and growing criticism over economic stagnation. In such an environment, a hardline stance against Pakistan can rally nationalist sentiment and redirect public attention. The precedent was set in 2019 when India responded to a terrorist attack in Pulwama with airstrikes in Balakot, Pakistan, a move that received widespread domestic support and boosted Modi's political standing in the run-up to the elections. In Pakistan, the political climate is equally volatile. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan remains imprisoned amid allegations of corruption, and the military continues to exert significant influence over civilian governance. The current administration, seen as closely aligned with the military establishment, cannot afford to appear weak on national security, especially after being accused of allowing militant groups to operate within its borders. This political vulnerability might compel Pakistan to adopt a more confrontational posture, not only to deflect internal dissent, but also to preserve its regional standing. The international community, aware of the stakes, has moved quickly to urge restraint. The United Nations called for both countries to maintain peace and resolve the matter through dialogue. The United States and European Union issued statements condemning the attack while encouraging both sides to refrain from further provocation. Russia and China, both of which have strategic partnerships with India and Pakistan respectively, also voiced concern over the risk of conflict and offered to mediate. Iran, maintaining cordial relations with both countries, has floated the idea of a trilateral dialogue aimed at defusing tensions. However, given the entrenched nature of the Kashmir dispute and the lack of trust between the two countries, external mediation may have limited success. An important dimension of the crisis is the regional security environment, which remains fragile. Afghanistan continues to grapple with instability, and tensions between India and China over border disputes persist. Any flare-up between India and Pakistan would add to this already volatile situation and could draw in other regional actors, directly or indirectly. For instance, India's close defense cooperation with the United States could be tested if hostilities escalate, while Pakistan might deepen its strategic alignment with China and Russia. Such alignments would further polarize South Asia and complicate peace-building efforts. Despite the intense rhetoric and mobilization, there are still reasons to believe that war is not inevitable. Both countries understand the destructive consequences of full-scale conflict, especially in the nuclear age. Their economies are under strain. India's growth has slowed in recent quarters, and Pakistan is navigating an economic crisis compounded by high inflation and IMF conditions. A war would be economically disastrous for both. Moreover, the existence of back-channel diplomacy, as has been used in past crises, could help de-escalate tensions. According to unconfirmed reports, intelligence officials from both countries have already engaged in unofficial talks to prevent further escalation along the line of contact. Nevertheless, the Pahalgam attack has exposed the fragility of the current peace architecture. While direct war may be avoided, the real danger lies in a prolonged period of low-intensity conflict, marked by sporadic skirmishes, diplomatic breakdowns, and mutual suspicion. Such a state of neither war nor peace can become the new normal, undermining stability not only in Kashmir but across South Asia. While a full-scale war between India and Pakistan remains unlikely in the immediate term, the conditions that led to the current crisis are deeply rooted and unresolved. The Pahalgam attack has amplified nationalist sentiments, hardened diplomatic positions, and revived military tensions. Without genuine efforts at dialogue and conflict resolution, the region will remain perpetually vulnerable to the next spark. It is imperative for both countries as well as the international community to invest in long-term peace mechanisms, rather than merely responding to each new crisis with short-term fixes. Only then can South Asia hope to move beyond the shadow of war and toward a future of coexistence and cooperation.